Welcome to the L.T.L. Tutoring Central video series. My name is Ron, and today I'm talking about sentence fragments. And primarily I'm talking about avoiding using sentence fragments in your writing, particularly if you're writing academic papers like essays, speeches, book reports, anything for school pretty much, and for business. You should avoid sentence fragments most of the time. Sentence fragments are fine for fictional writing, for poetry writing. Those follow very different rules than most of the formal writing rules that I'm talking about in most of these videos. So, what is a sentence fragment? Well, the word fragment might give it away. It's a part of a sentence. It's a piece of a sentence. In other words, you've written something that looks like a sentence, but it's not a sentence. It's not complete. And you should always try to write in complete sentences when you're doing academic writing, and most fictional writing as well. Dialogue can be different because dialogue is back and forth, and we use a lot of shortcuts when we're talking to one another. So that's why fictional writing is quite different. Usually you don't have a lot of dialogue when you're writing essays, etc. If you're quoting somebody, of course you quote them the way that they actually said whatever they said. So what you can have, you may have a subject and you're missing a predicate. You may have a predicate and you're missing the subject. Or you may have a subordinating word or phrase that turns that sentence into a dependent clause instead of a complete sentence. So for example, the big yellow bus. Okay, we have a subject, what happened to the big yellow bus? That's not a sentence by itself. Went down the highway at 90 kilometers an hour. Okay, that's a predicate. We know what happened, but we don't know what was going 90 kilometers an hour. So we could combine those two together. The big yellow bus went down the highway at 90 kilometers an hour. That would be a complete sentence or an independent clause, and that would be fine. But don't leave just the subject hanging by itself or the predicate. And sometimes when you have a very long subject, you might have multiple subjects in fact, it seems like a sentence. And the same goes with the predicate. If you have a very long predicate, sometimes it sounds like a sentence by itself, and if it's been written with a capital and a period, for example, it may look like a sentence, it may sound like a sentence, but if you're missing something, it isn't a sentence. So one way to tell is to ask yourself, if you said this to someone, or if someone said it to you, would you understand what they mean, and would it be a complete thought? And if it isn't, then it's probably a sentence fragment. It's probably missing something. So for example, to use one with a subordinating word, after the party ended, what happened? We're waiting. What happened after the party ending? We don't have enough information. It's not complete. And so whenever you hear or when you read it out, and it's good to read out loud if you can, because then you can often hear what has gone wrong, not just with sentence fragments, but with other errors as well. Listen to see, does it make sense by itself, or is it missing a subject or missing a predicate, or is it dependent? Because if it has a subordinating word, it's going to be dependent. So every day when the children come home from school, okay, it could look like a sentence with a capital and a period, but when you read it out loud, or when you think, if someone says that to me, am I waiting? Well, yeah, every day when the children come home from school, what happens? We don't know. They watch television, they play games, they do their homework. Yay! That would be great. But you need something more. So always check your sentences. Make sure that they are complete sentences. And the best way to get better at writing, as I've mentioned before, is to write. If you want to get better at anything, you need to practice that particular thing. Whether it's riding a bicycle, or singing, or swimming, you need to swim, or you need to sing, or you need to ride your bicycle. If you want to get better at writing, you really need to write. Reading can help, But I've known students who've read enormous amounts and are absolutely dreadful writers. And I'm not saying that to be mean, I'm just saying it because it's true. If you don't actually practice the writing, it doesn't improve. And as you're practicing, you need some kind of feedback, some kind of direction from time to time to know if you're on the right track. You can learn a lot from books or online. You can learn a lot from other people, but you need that feedback from somewhere. And one place to get that feedback would be a tutor. Say moi. And you can get help from me if you like. I'll put some links below for you to check out the website and some paragraph writing lessons, which are very, very good because they're short, but we can cover a lot of material, a lot of the grammar rules, punctuation rules, talk about sentence fragments and how to avoid them or how to correct them if you find sentence fragments. And so that is a great way because you need that feedback. You need a little bit of help sometimes to make improvements because, again, if you just keep writing in the wrong way over and over and over again, then you haven't made any directed improvement. So to really quickly improve and correctly improve, you sometimes do need a little bit of outside help with that. So check it out. It may be helpful. Check out the website. There's some other lessons and courses there as well. You'll learn a little bit more about me and a little bit more about L.T.L. Tutoring Central. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like or leave a comment or ask a question because I like to answer questions as well. Check out the Facebook page and take some online courses. There's synchronous and asynchronous courses that you can take. Even some of the asynchronous courses have some feedback from me as well, so that can be helpful. In the meantime, keep writing. Write what you like. Don't get discouraged. Don't worry too much about the rules. They're there to help tighten up the writing and make it better for the reader and better for you as well in the long run. I know they're a bit of a pain when you're learning them, but once you get them, it does make your writing a lot better, and it makes it easier for you to write because you don't have to worry so much about every single rule. So don't worry, keep writing. You can always brush it up and clean it up later. And that's it for today. I'm going to sign off, and I'll see you next week. Check out the blog. I'll put a link for that too. It's also talking about sentence fragments and has a lot more examples in it. Okay, it's Ron from L.T.L. Tutoring Central, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.